like to welcome to the podcast Stephen Crawford, my good friend Stephen Crawford. How did we become friends? Do you remember?
I think we first met via the First Fridays Focus. Is that right?
I don't remember.
I think so.
I think you found me and you're like, let's have coffee. And I was like, okay. And now we talk all the time.
Absolutely.
We like each other. Stephen has established a well-deserved reputation as a go-to resource for resolving the most demanding service business operations challenges. We're going to talk to him about a couple of those. Today, achieving critical operational and financial goals for his clients through McGhee Productivity Solutions. He goes all over the world.
I do.
Teaching people how to be more productive. So cool. He also has founded Crawford and Gray, a small business advocate and consultative firm in Denver, Colorado. He served 8 years in the military as a Marine, right?
Yes.
Awesome. And he lives here in lovely Littleton, Colorado with the rest of us. We love it here. And is really active in his church and has 4 teenagers. 4 of them. 4 of them. So, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Absolutely. It's awesome to be here.
Yay. So I wanted to talk about McGhee and what you're doing with McGhee. But I like to start with, what was your first job?
My first job. So I had lots of jobs as a kid. You know, back in our day, that's what everybody did. We all had jobs. So newspaper routes, mowing the grass, working in a kitchen, washing dishes. But the first job that I had that I actually got a paycheck was working for my best friend's dad, who owned a butcher shop.
Oh, that's cool.
And it was a small town, population 450 people in this town, Sublette, Illinois. And he let me work in that butcher shop, and it was the greatest thing. So,
what did you do in the butcher shop?
Everything from actually helping with the butcher to, selling the meat at the counter, cleaning up, all those kinds of tasks.
So it was like everything.
But now I'm a meat snob, so like if I go get a steak, I know what I'm looking for.
You're like, I have to go to Tony's.
That's right.
What did you want to be when you grew up?
I wanted more than anything to be an architect.
Oh, that's really cool.
In fact, in high school, I went to, for my junior and senior year, before I went to high school, I went to a vocational school for 2 hours in the morning studying architecture.
That's awesome.
And I actually got into a state competition and won the state competition, and that took me to a national thing. And I placed like 3rd in the national deal and got this scholarship towards college. And that's what I wanted to be. That's what I got my first degree in.
Oh, that's awesome. So you got your degree in architecture and then you went to the Marine Corps?
So I was a sophomore in college when they called up reserves for the first Gulf War. And I had no desire to have a career in the military, but I always told myself as a patriotic and healthy man, if the country ever needed me, I'd go. And when they started calling reserves, I'm like, well, I guess that's a sign that they need some people. So I remember this day and will forever. I walked out of an architecture lab at Quigley Hall at Southern Illinois University, and right across the street was a Marine Corps recruiter. And I walked in and said, if you can make me a combat engineer and send me to boot camp this summer, I'll enlist right now. And so as you can imagine, that was a dream come true for a recruiter. You got a college kid who's in good shape because I played football and wrestled, and he's like, let's do it. So I enlisted. So that next summer I went to boot camp, and I did 2 years active, went back and I had my associate degree in hand, went back, got the bachelor's degree, and was in the reserves after that.
Okay. So did you go to the Gulf War?
No, actually, by the time I got through boot camp and MCT and engineering school, my unit came back. So
you're like,
I graduated top of my class in engineering school, and they said, well, you got to fulfill your active duty, but your unit came back, so they made me an instructor. So I got to teach other Marines how to blow stuff up.
Awesome.
Yeah, so it was cool.
So it just kind of went right into, everything else you've done. Yeah. So you were a executive in many different businesses. And what was your role in those businesses?
So I progressed.
Right.
So after college, as much as I thought I wanted to be an architect, I realized that I didn't want to sit in a room by myself and draw. In the architecture field, like many, you do an apprenticeship before you can actually go on to the next level. And I just found I had a knack for it, an aptitude for it, a desire to lead people.
Yes.
And I kept getting put into leadership roles in sports and everything I did, my fraternity. So I said, you know what, I want to find a management opportunity. So after college, I answered an ad for management trainee, and it ended up being at a consumer finance company. And I took that job, and that just got me onto the management track. So I I started entry level receptionist actually.
Nice.
And worked my way up.
It's so important
within
to
a
have
year.
all of that
Oh yeah.
to manage people.
And you understand the roles of the people that you're in charge of. Within a year, I made it to an assistant manager. Then I was a manager, then a general manager. And then I moved on to business process outsourcing, which was what really made my career take off. And I managed some branches, and then I managed regions, and then I got promoted to a vice president of central production, which is where all the underwriting and processing and closing was happening in a central location for all the branches around the country.
Got it.
And that opportunity happened to be in Denver, Colorado. So that's what got me from Chicago to Denver, was taking that promotion with the company at the time, 20 years ago. And then my career continued to progress. And ultimately, I was at an EVP level in a business process outsourcing firm with offices all over the world, and it was fantastic. But the one thing that kind of slipped away, which is why I'm doing what I'm doing now, is that personal development of people.
Right.
That's what I enjoyed the most in my career as it evolved. Was when I was a manager, I had my team. When I was a vice president, I had my managers. When I was an SVP, I had my VPs and so on. And I was always able to mentor and develop them. But I ultimately got to a spot where my role was no longer doing that. It was, dealing with the finance people, the board, the C-level guys at our clients. And while I was great at that and enjoyed that and made a lot of money for the companies I worked for and served my clients well, I wasn't getting that fulfillment of actually having an impact on individuals every day. So I had that paradigm shift and said, it's time to do something different.
I love it. Yeah, when I worked in a family office for a year, I was like, I'm not helping anybody grow their businesses here, and it really was like very, very clear that that's what I needed to be doing. I was like, this is not, actually helping anybody or growing, helping people grow or anything like that, and impacting their lives at all.
That's the thing. You found something that was a vision for you.
Right.
You had a calling.
Right.
So how do I take those skills and still do something that's fulfilling for me?
Right.
And you found that, and so did I. And, that's what I encourage people to do when I encourage entrepreneurs or young people getting into business is go out there, get some experience, find what you love, and then go do it.
Right.
And if that means you have to open up your own shop to do that, do it. If you can find it somewhere else, great.
And it's so interesting that, regardless of what I'm doing, it's a helper. We're all helping people somehow. And that's where people seem to find the most fulfillment, is when they're actually solving a problem for other people.
If you can be of service,
right,
in any way, it's a great feeling, and it helps propel that kind of energy around. For me, I'm a faithful guy, so I think it's a God thing. But even if you're not faithful, it could be a karma thing, could be a universe thing. Just whatever energy you're putting out there is what ultimately is going to come back to you. So being of service and actually being motivated by helping people, whether it directly ties to what you do in business or not.
Right.
As like when we met, I network with everybody.
Yeah.
And if I meet somebody on LinkedIn or whatever, I'm always trying to have a coffee meet up with them. And my focus is always just listening and learning about their story. And sometimes the ways that I can help somebody has nothing to do with what I do in business.
Right. I mean, I even have clients who call me with something that seems like an accounting question, but it's really not. Right. It's something else that needs to be discussed. And it's just therapy session or a listening session, right?
Yep.
But they have somebody that understands them and their goals, and I can help them, make decisions through that.
Absolutely. And sharing your stories, sometimes people just need that encouragement, and they might have been kicked a few times and feel like they're failing,
right?
And they don't see the opportunity in that failure or in that letdown to learn from that and move on and course correct.
Yeah.
And they just need somebody to encourage them that way. And sometimes that's all it comes down to.
Yeah. And we love to do accountability around here too. We like to push the clients forward. Sometimes we're behind them.
Right.
Come on, you told me you're going to do this thing. What can, how can we help you? Is there anything I can help you other than just being like, can I help you?
Yeah.
But usually that a lot of the time is super helpful. Just having somebody reminding them of the things they needed to do, and what their goals were and how to get there. So cool. So how did you end up at McGhee, and what magnetized you to McGhee with all of your experience?
Yeah, it was kind of a unique thing. So when I came to that point where I was realizing that I wasn't getting the fulfillment that I wanted as a high-level executive, I had a decision to make. Okay, so what do you really want to do, when you grow up, right? 50 years old, what do you want to do when you grow up? And I started looking at the things I loved about my career and the things I didn't like so much about it. And it was every time the positives were always about helping people and encouraging people and developing people and having an impact on people. So it was clear to me I wanted to get into something like that. And I started doing research on organizations that had opportunities like that. And I came across McGhee Productivity Solutions. I'm like, very interesting. Not only are they a consulting firm that does change management consulting, accountability programs, strategic team planning, all those high level, bigger picture consulting things, but they also do training, productivity training for individuals or teams, mostly around the use of Outlook on how to win back 2 hours a day of productivity.
Love it.
And when I was looking at those programs, I said, that's something I could have really used back in my executive days, first of all. But second of all, I really wanted to look more into this company. Small company based here in Denver. And I love that idea because I love helping companies grow. So if you can get a small company and have an impact on helping them grow, that'd be great. So I said, I want to, meet Sally McGhee, who's the founder and CEO. And I looked her up and I requested a meeting. And after some back and forth, we finally got together and she's amazing. And I knew right away, I'm like, I want to help her grow her company. I want to work with her. And then I said that. I said, I really want to come work here as a consultant. And, she was honest. She was like, Steve, I've seen your salary history. I've seen your experience. We can't come anywhere close to that. And I said, I'm aware of that. I understand that I'll be taking a major pay cut to do something like this. But I have passion for it. And if I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing and doing a good job, the company will grow. Right. And then maybe, we'll be able to close that delta a little bit over time on the compensation. And, for her, it was a win because she was getting somebody with a level of experience that she typically doesn't get in that role. And for me, it was a win because it was a fresh start and something that I wanted to do and I can have passion and excitement around. Yeah. So I met with the family and said, listen, guys, my wife and 4 kids, I said, I want to make a change. This is what it's going to mean. We're going to have to cut back on some stuff, downsize the house, that kind of stuff, because the income is going to be significantly different. But I believe I'm going to be happy doing this. Yeah. And 100% buy-in. The family was like, go do it.
Right.
So we did. We sold the big house, got a smaller house, all the stuff. But that's what ended up bringing me to McGhee. And it's funny because Sal and I went back and forth for a while because she didn't even have an opportunity available at the time. So the stars aligned and all the things happened where after a couple months I was on board.
And she was ready to go.
Yep.
That's awesome. So we have done a training. So you did a training for some of my clients around email productivity and Inbox Zero. I love Inbox Zero. It's my favorite thing ever. I love that feeling of just, it's cleaned out. It's so great. So what would you say is the biggest productivity tool that helps your clients increase their performance the fastest? Is it that Inbox Zero?
Well, Inbox Zero is important, and there's a lot of reasons why, and all the tools and methodologies that you learn in our Take Back Your Life class that help you get there are awesome. But if, I was to sit here and say, what's one thing somebody can implement today without any of the training and all that stuff that can have a huge impact on their productivity, I would say the weekly review. The weekly review, to me, is the best gift you can give yourself when it comes to productivity.
Right.
It's an opportunity for you to reflect on the previous week, celebrate those victories, the things you did well, give yourself a pat on the back, take a deep breath and be proud of that. But you're also looking back and saying, what didn't work?
Yeah, what didn't I do?
Yeah, what did I set out to do that I didn't accomplish? Yeah. And then you're looking at why. And this isn't so that you're trying to beat yourself up or anything like that. It's so that you can learn from that and course correct.
Right.
Because the next part of the weekly review is actually setting your baseline calendar for the next week. And now you've learned, okay, maybe the reason I didn't get this project done last week that I set out to do was because I allowed too many interruptions. Or maybe there was like a 911 type item came up, right? Something that you can't control that was unexpected and boom, that knocked out your time that you had for your project. Whatever the case may be. You learn from that and then you use that information as you set up the calendar the next week. So in the example of the 911 issue coming up, if you learn week over week in your weekly reviews that you have about an hour a week that is spent with those unexpected things, you can start to plan for that. So you just put a hold on your calendar at some point next week saying hold for 911 item. Right. And then you fill in the rest of your calendar with all the stuff you plan on doing. And then what happens is when you come in and on Monday you're working on that project and that 911 thing comes up, you just drag that hold over and then move your project time to that place you just vacated. The difference there is in the week before you lost that project time because the 911 stuff you weren't accounting for. And then the following week you were just flexible about when you did it. You didn't lose that time.
Just a budget.
So little things like that, you're just self-course correcting and really being strategic about your time. And you do that week over week over week. You continue to learn and get better at scheduling your time.
I love it.
Yeah. And it's also time for you to look back at your projects on your status. You know, how am I doing towards this goal? How am I doing on this project? So it's really a strategic thinking time.
Yeah. I find it really interesting that you guys use just the Microsoft suite of things. Like there's no CRM, there's no additional, software. It's just you guys use Outlook, you use Word, you use Excel. I did one of the classes on project management, I think it was. And it was just Excel. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of genius.
Yeah, we do use CRM, Dynamics 365. So all the Microsoft products and suite. So if anybody's been upgraded to like the O365, what we're seeing is a lot of people are starting to engage in Teams now, Microsoft Teams, Microsoft OneNote. So that we have customized trainings around specifically how to use those productively as well. But the Take Back Your Life program is based primarily around Outlook, the use of your email, calendar, and tasks.
Yeah. I mean, even just, doing I think after your training, I really got a lot better at just processing my email twice a day. And that has been hugely impactful for, my productivity. I've got it scheduled. I do it then. People wait. It's fine.
It's a discipline. And if you get that discipline of touching an email one time and making a decision with it, you're no longer doing that flagged email or mark it unread and keeping your inbox all full of all kinds of garbage and, worrying about, is there action I have to take on anything in this inbox? Is there anything I need to revisit? Because it's gone. It's either put in a folder or it's created a task out of it or you've done it.
It's deleted.
And it just takes so much stress off your plate, doesn't it?
Yeah, it makes you feel so much lighter. Yeah. That inbox zero is like, I don't know, it's a mental, it takes the mental load off of having to deal with it.
And every time you go into your inbox to process email, everything that's in there is fresh daily news.
Right.
There's nothing lingering.
Yeah, there's nothing in there.
So that's a great feeling too, because you don't have this sense of urgency like you have to be, immediately respond and react because it just came in the last, half a day since the last time you did it. Right. And that just helps get you out of the reactive mode. So many people want to be so reactive all the time and we become slave to emails. Just need to take a breath and relax. As professionals, we have to respond in an appropriate amount of time.
Right.
But we certainly don't have to be reactive.
Exactly.
And that's the difference, responsive versus reactive.
Well, and it's very interesting to me because a lot of the time, pretty much every time we bring on a new client, they tell me that their current tax person or bookkeeper, whoever they've been dealing with on the accounting end, is completely uncommunicative. And I'm like, well, our response time is 24 to 48 hours. Like, that's our policy. That's how we work around here. They're like, yeah, we don't even ever get emails back. And I'm just like, well, I don't understand.
Yeah, how can you do business that way, right?
Yeah, I don't understand that at all. But you're right. I think it makes it easier when you don't let it pile up. And then you don't, lose clients.
Yeah, and you have a strategy, right? So if you've created a task out of that email that you need to respond to them tomorrow, and that email is embedded in that task for the next day, when you're doing your strategic next action time, we call it SNA time, basically your task work, it's going to be right there for you.
Yeah,
and
ready to
boom,
go.
you got to respond. So nothing slips through the cracks.
I have to show you my new CRM.
Okay.
I'll show you after this.
I want to check it out.
I'm excited about it because basically that's what it does. You triage your email, and then you put it into work. You put it into to-dos. You do all these things, but it's all collaborative with my team so that I can see where they are and I can assign things to them. And
Perfect.
It's awesome. I'll have to show you. You'll love it. So you travel internationally a lot.
I do.
Is this new for you?
No, when I was in business process outsourcing, I had offices in India and the Philippines and London, so I used to travel. But the difference is, when I was traveling in those days, I would be gone for large chunks of time. Here, when I'm supporting my clients, if I go to India, I might have 4 sessions in 5 days. So I'm out there for a week and I'm back. When I went to Germany the last 3 times for a client, I was actually in their day session and then back.
Wow.
So it's usually in and out, and it's fairly quick. And with my kids all being teenagers now, travel doesn't have the impact it would have when they were little.
They can handle some stuff.
Yeah. So these days they're like, that's cool. See you, Dad.
See you when you get back. Have a good flight.
Leave your debit card. Everything's good.
How do you handle international travel? Like, how do you not be tired all the time? Because
I have a pretty good system.
Me out.
Yeah, I have a pretty good system for that. First of all, I can't sleep on airplanes. and that works for me. So when I'm traveling international, I always try to book my travels so that when I arrive wherever I'm going, it's in the late afternoon there. And then what I do is I pull the all-nighter on the flight out there. So I basically skip a night of sleep. But when I get to my destination, I get something to eat and I go to sleep. And when I wake up the next morning, it sets my clock for their time because I woke up in the morning on their time. And I'm cruising, right? And then I do the same thing on the way back. So I get home in the afternoon and get something to eat, go to sleep, and I wake up the next morning, I'm back on U.S. time. So that little system really works for me. It's not for everybody because not everybody can handle missing that one night of sleep. I certainly can, and it works out well for me. The other thing that's great is, I don't drink alcohol or anything like that. So that's kind of the downside of some business travelers I see. They'll get on an international flight, you get the free drinks, and that just dehydrates you and just makes it more lethargic for you the next day.
Probably harder to...
For me, it's good nutrition and then get my clock set the way I do with the sleep pattern.
Yeah, I mean, even just an overnight birth, I just did a birth Saturday night, and it's like I drink a bottle of wine the next day, and I'm like, why am I hungover?
Right. Yeah, because your body
it's just like a little lack of sleep, and my body's like, no.
Yeah, drink lots of water on the airplane because that recycled air, it just dehydrates.
How do you stay healthy?
Just eating right and working out when I'm not on an airplane. Even when I travel, I have a little program that I do with just body weight exercise in a hotel. And it's not a lot, and it's not anything that's going to make you Lou Ferrigno, but it just keeps your muscles, from atrophying, really. It just keeps them active, get your blood flowing a little bit, and then you jump in the shower and you just feel refreshed, So it's important to stick with those routines. Try not to eat, a lot of starch and a lot of carbs and stuff when you're traveling because it just weighs you down. So skip the bread and the cheese and things like that when you're traveling a lot because it just makes you lighter and a little bit more nimble feeling.
In Germany, you just eat all the sausage, right?
Yeah, just all about the meat. Wiener Schnitzel.
Well, I heard all of it's all sausage over there.
Yeah.
So what is your favorite country to visit? Which one do you like the best? Which one do you look forward to?
I'm really looking forward to a trip I have coming up next month to Ireland. I haven't been there yet.
Oh, that's cool.
And that's part of my heritage. I'm Irish, Scottish, and English. So I'd be anxious to see that, even though I'm primarily going to be in and out of there. I do have about a half day to explore when I'm there. So I'm looking forward to that. One of the countries that I seem to really enjoy is India.
You're there a lot.
Yeah, I used to be there a lot in BPO, and I'm there a lot now for McGhee. And just the people that I meet there, and just how welcoming they are, and how smart the people that my clients are there. And it's just a great time there. Yeah, and of course I love the food there too.
I love it.
Yeah, the food's fantastic. So I really enjoy that. But to be honest with you, I've had good experiences everywhere I've traveled.
I'm sure you have.
I don't have any horror stories about, any bad situations in anywhere I've been. I do my research before I go to make sure that I'm, filled in on customs and I don't do anything to offend anybody, But other than that, it's just about, being confident and being yourself and being outgoing. I find that once you engage in conversation with people in different countries, they want to learn about you and they want to.
They want to know your story, right?
Yeah, I want to hear their story. So, just getting to know people on a personal level is a lot of fun.
That's awesome. Yeah. I love it. So, what's up next with McGhee? You guys are doing some online trainings.
Yes. So there's something in the wings right now that is confidential to this point because it's not finalized yet. Okay. But it would be an acquisition that would really help boost our online learning.
Awesome.
And we've been putting together more material for that. So we already have what's called the McGhee Learning System. It's a portal on our website where graduates of the Take Back Your Life program can go and they can get access to mini videos on the things that they already learned. Like, oh, I forgot how to set color coding on my calendar. They can see a little, minute and a half video for that. Or, I need help on how to do an effective weekly review. They can see a little mini video of that. Or they can download settings, the technical settings they had in class. But we're taking it to the next level where it's going to be standalone. So people can come in and actually get, some great tips on shortcuts on keyboards. There's literally 100 shortcuts on the keyboard that people aren't aware of.
Yeah, pick 5.
Yeah, like Control-Shift-K creates a task, Control-Shift-M creates a new message.
Right.
So there's all these different things that they can learn. And these mini videos are going to be great ways for people just to subscribe and get all these cool trainings.
I love it.
Without having to, schedule a class and go to a site or anything to do that.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that's new. Another thing that's new is we're really kind of moving our branding to the level where we're looking at our focus on productivity, not just from a training standpoint or the consulting standpoint, but really an approach to productivity that really has these 5 pillars, if you will, that include all the different things that we support.
I love it.
And it's a new way for companies to really understand everything that we do. You know, for me to sit here and say, well, we're a consulting firm and we do all this change management stuff. We also do training. How does that all align? And
how does it work together?
Yeah, and where can a company jump in for our support? And how do they get through that full cycle? So it's really going to be an exciting thing that we're going to be rolling out probably at the end of the month. That is just going to be kind of, it's still our brand, the Take Back Your Life company and McGhee Productivity Solutions and all that, but it's really going to help people understand more about what we do.
I love it.
Yep.
I'm
excited for it.
I'm excited for it. So let's talk about Crawford and Gray.
Sure.
So what is Crawford and Gray? What are you guys doing? What's coming up?
So Crawford and Gray is currently a partnership of myself and my business partner Kevin Gray, hence the Crawford and Gray.
I have not met Kevin
real
yet.
original.
How come I haven't met?
He's not the networker. I'm the networker. He's the more the behind the scenes finance and stuff like that. We both have full-time jobs, so
He's the accounting nerd.
so he and I have worked together for almost 20 years in various companies and became very good friends. He attends the Bible study I lead on Saturday mornings. I mean, we're just engaged. Our families are, very close. And about 8 years ago or so, when we were working together at one of the business process outsourcing companies, he mentioned to me, hey, you know so-and-so? And I'm like, sure. He goes, hey, I just helped her open her business. I'm like, what'd you do? And he told me what he did. And I said, I do the same thing all the time. I helped, X, Y, and Z over here. And what we found out was we both had a passion for entrepreneurs and for small businesses and ways to help them do their thing. And we joked at the time and said, we should start a company around this someday. Ha ha ha, right? Well, a few years later, I had taken some time off. My mother had passed away fairly suddenly. I was on a plane back from India to Houston, where I was officing from when I was still in BPO, and got the word that my mom passed away. So I went back to Illinois to help with those affairs. And while I was there, it was disclosed that my dad had stage 4 cancer. So, he wasn't going to be much longer either. So I wanted to take the time to deal with those things. And while I had that time off, I said, I'm one of those guys, I'm really restless. I can't.
You're right. I gotta have a project.
I can't be doing nothing. So I'm like, I'm going to go ahead and do the work to formalize this company. So I did, had the website put together. I created social media pages. We met with an attorney and got all the stuff we needed to do to, legitimize us as a company and file all the articles and all that. And we launched it. And then we said, okay, great. And our first client came along like that, and it was awesome. And we helped that client find their vendors, establish their company, and we actually invested in them with the seed money, and they're still doing great today.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so that's what kind of got it started, and we do it, as a kind of a side gig for both of us at this point. But the goal is that, 10, 15 years from now, we'll have a 20-year-old or 25-year-old company with referenceable clients. And if we want to quasi-retire out of the corporate world,
that's awesome.
we'll have that to go on.
So you guys have any projects in Crawford and Gray right now?
So we have several clients that we're supporting. What we're working on right now is there's a third partner that's considering joining us.
Awesome.
Another gentleman that we worked with in the past. And what that'll do is give us an extra niche, but another skill set beyond what I do and what Kevin does. He's more of a technology guy, so that adds some service that we can offer to our clients and
That's
some
awesome.
specialization. But right now what we do is we offer a lot of free consulting for people when they're looking to just consider, hey, is my business plan legit? Am I right on the dollar amount I think I need? Where should I go to get that? Hey, I need 7 vendors to help me with my business. Do you recommend any? We have a whole list of approved vendors based on the networking I do. Right. You need CPA,
Jamie.
There you go. Jamie O'Kane's your girl, right? If you need, a website built, if you need merchant account services, whatever the case may be, they don't have to start from scratch because we have a network of people that are trusted that we can recommend.
That you absolutely trust, and you're like, these people are legit and will help you.
And that stuff's all free that we help them with that. And then where it gets to the next step is, if they actually need capital infusion and it's in our wheelhouse for what we'll invest, sometimes we'll actually invest in them directly or we'll help them find financing elsewhere. And then sometimes they actually engage us in a coaching engagement where, it's a paid engagement where it's longer than just a free advice piece.
That's awesome.
But it fulfills a lot for us because we're able to help people like we love to do. We're able to promote small business in the Denver area.
Help them grow.
Yeah. And, to me, no longer are you going to go somewhere to work there for 50 years and get your gold watch, right? It's very rare these days.
There just are no gold watches. So
yeah. So, if you find something you love and you have an opportunity to go out and do it on your own, what a great thing. It's creating jobs. It's, adding to the market. It's adding to the economy.
People are happier too.
Yeah. And you're creating something. So we have a real passion for entrepreneurs and small businesses. So we do everything we can to try to help them.
Awesome. I love it. Well, that's all I had for you. What is your favorite business book?
If I say anything other than Take Back Your Life, I'd get shot. So,
other than
but the book Take Back Your Life.
Other than Take Back Your Life.
Oh, geez, I've read so many. I think it goes way back. The thing that got me interested in business books to begin with was The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
It's always a good one.
And I know that's old school, but that was the first, business / self-help book that I ever read all those years ago. And it got me interested in the genre. So
it's really funny. I read it in high school.
Yeah.
My dad was like, "You should read this." I was like, "Okay, Dad." And I read it in high school. It's been a really long time. I should probably read it again.
To legitimize how long ago it was, I also had it in cassette. So I would read the book.
I remember cassettes. I'm not that yet.
Yeah, I read the book, and then I actually got it in cassette. Used to listen to it in the car from time to time. So that's how old school that is.
Right?
Yeah.
I know. I'm like, I need an Audible because I can't. I don't have time. I have a whole list of business books that I want to read. And I just haven't. I don't have time.
Yeah. Well, that's why you need to start traveling internationally.
There you go. Then I'd have lots more time.
I can read 3 novels on a flight to India.
Well, I'm just going to come with you then.
There you go.
I'm going to come to India.
Right on.
Well, thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for having me. It's awesome.
Anything else you want to talk about?
No, I think I'm good. I appreciate being here.
Well, thanks for coming. I always love spending time with you. So.
Thank you. You too.
It's awesome.
Hey y'all, thanks for listening. If you found this podcast to be inspiring, helpful, and entertaining, please like and subscribe. This helps us grow the community and reach more people. If you are interested in learning more about this episode's guest or accessing any of the books or other resources mentioned in this episode, be sure to check out the description box below. Until next time, be abundant.